This is the battle for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And again, you can still throw a blanket over them. You were talking earlier about the Ferrari losing out to its competition, but it really, I mean, yes, it is a little bit slower, but they're still, the pack is so tight that they're still in the hunt. This is your lead battle. It's Antonio Garcia, Michael Christensen, and Nick Tandy, the top three as they head down through the Tête Rouge S's.
Well, we said during qualifying that it's not necessarily the fastest car that's going to take pole position. It's the race runs. It's all about the race runs and who uses their tyre harder than the other car. And at the moment, the Corvette does seem to be the car to have, whereas in qualifying, you know, they were struggling a bit.
There you see the 7 cars.
Right, we saw Nicki Thiim running wide again. I would be very surprised if he doesn't get a little warning for that.
There goes the Labra number 50. 18th place in the 20-car LMP2 field. Slots in, setting up for the first chicane. The Forza chicane goes to the right. Michelin chicane goes to the left. A little right, left, right. Back onto the Mulsanne straightaway. The Labra car has cleared the GTE Pro cars, and now they are left to fight it out amongst themselves. Christensen and like Estra before him have just been all over the back end of Antonio Garcia since Garcia was able to take the lead and the Porsche was able to get into second place. He's just been right there the whole time. Of course,
we've got 2 cars here, 2 very different cars, engines in completely different places. They're going to use their tires in different ways, so it could be that Garcia now has a bit of understeer, whereas the Porsche might be tight on the front and might be sliding the rear a little bit more. So very interesting to see how this pans out. And of course, as the race goes on, more rubber goes down, everyone goes a bit quicker, the cars are a bit tighter, and yeah, it's great to see the development of the race.
So, Bruno Senna in the number 1 Rebellion goes through that battle.
He's recovering that time lost, what we now believe was a slow puncture. He's down in 26th position. His next target is the Labra competition number 50 Ligier. Andrea Pizzitola, by the way, back into the pits. That's the car that stopped early last time around.
Pizza or driver?
A good glimpse of the pits there. Jan Magnussen sitting, waiting to get in the car. It's a difficult thing as a driver, that where you're powerless. You're just sitting there. You know you've got another 50 minutes or so until you're going to get in the car, and there's nothing to do. All you can do is watch, and really, you'd rather be in the car at the time. It's a boring thing
One's got
to do.
the weekend off, so he can't even check in on Kevin.
Settle Valorba Corsa also in the pits. Giorgio Serigiotto brings in the car that will join the FIWC next season in the hands of AF Corsa. It's their last race with Valorba Corsa, and also in Stefan Sarrazin in the number 17 S&P racing car from 5th position.
This is the second stop for this car. Looks like a nose change. Latches go on. 2 quick connector screws. Quick clean of the windshield. Topping him up for fuel. Topped up the drinks bottle. Interesting. So that's about, well, there's the 88 car around again.
Yeah, Preto, it looks like he's been across the gravel there.
Yep. That's Ishino again. That's his second time around.
Gets back up to speed. Slightly torrid run from, and that was a near miss with the Algarve Pro car on its way out to the pits, by the way. Mercifully keeps the momentum up and manages to get the number 88 car back onto.
You have to have your eyes everywhere on this track. You know, there's cars going in every direction. So, yeah, he just got caught out by, as you say, the car exiting the pits.
Meanwhile, back at the front of the LMP2 field, we are nose to tail for the lead in this category.
And that's the leader overall behind the battle for second place in LMP2. They go 4 wide, almost 3 wide, certainly. And the punch out the corner from Anage, that's good enough to get Mike Conway clear. 16.9 seconds to the good at the last timing.
He's not pulling away from that P2 car very quickly, is he?
Let's check in with Louise.
Yes, Ben, it looks like Ben Hamley is bringing in the number 10 Dragon speed at the moment. I can't see anything extra out. Looks like a standard stop, but I'll tell you if there's anything different.
Yeah, there was the car we saw smoking at various parts. It could well have been just, well, bodywork, maybe. Maybe. Let's hope for their position that's the case. In comes the TDS car. So TDS car comes in from second position. Great opening stint from Mathieu Vazevière.
Eddie Cheever pinged again for abusing track limits. That's been a reoccurring theme all week for him.
So Vazevière.
This is the second round of pit stops starting for our P2 cars. Nicolas Lapierre took advantage of the first round of pit stops and was able to take over the lead.
Yeah, the 28 car.
Dragon speed comes in. Let's check in with Louise, who's at the Dragon speed pit. They've dropped all the way to 10.
The pit stop was a standard pit stop, but everyone in this garage was on their hands and knees looking under that car. So we've seen it smoking out on track. What were they looking for?
Yeah, I think the smoke that you saw on the track was the floor touching the asphalt, basically. But last year we had kind of the same problem when I was in the car. There was a bit of a hole in the diffuser, the back end of the car, the lower back end of the car, and we're thinking maybe it might be the same. I'm not sure what they're discussing now and see what they saw under the car, but I couldn't see anything from the pit box, so hopefully the mechanics saw something, but it could be that the floor is hanging on the ground. That's giving the wood, it's a wooden plank under the car, so that's touching the asphalt, which gives the blue smoke.
Okay, thank you.
So, Graham, if the plank is rubbing, they're in danger of being illegal by the end of the race.
Exactly.
Most certainly are, and it's exactly what cost Toyota 1-2 at Silverstone, the only race they've lost in this super season. Both Toyotas excluded at Silverstone after the planks on both cars were found to be overworn. So yes, indeed, they've got to be very careful with that.
So in a sense, obviously they don't want problems with the engine, they don't want the smoke coming out of the engine, but equally they've got a problem with the plank, and if they were needed to stop and change that would be a real effort.
Wouldn't it just? It's not the work of a moment, multi-piece item on the underfloor of the car.
Also into the pits and back out, the Rebellion number 3. Menendez stays behind the wheel of that car, and both SMP cars have pitted, Petrov and Sarrazin. And a lot of the field in LMP2 has made their second pit stop. We're still waiting for the two leading cars, the 36 and the 26, to make their call to pit road, along with the 31 Dragon speed with Anthony Davidson behind the wheel. So Jean-Eric Verne in the 26 and Nicolas Lapierre in the 36 have yet to make their second stop. 6th and 7th overall respectively, as problems have befallen some of the LMP1 competitors. We're seeing the LMP2 cars climbing up the overall order.
Seeing the on board with Christensen in the Porsche again. Suddenly Garcia's got a bit of a gap. I wonder, maybe Christensen made a mistake, or maybe he got caught with traffic, because Garcia, they were nose to tail a short while ago, and he's just got a bit of a guy. He's broken that toe, so let's see if Antonio can pull away. Mind you, Christensen's got right over those curbs there and kind of done the best he could in shortcutting that chicane, and he seems to have pulled back up slightly.
36 car in the pits, as is the 26. Lapierre looks like he's going to stay in the car.
19-second gap as they came in between Nico Lapierre, the race leader in LMP2, 6th overall after the stop for Dragon speed and the problems earlier on for Bruno Senna, is making his way back up the field, but Jean-Eric Verne second.
You'll notice 4 drivers over the wall, 4 mechanics over the wall, only 2 guns allowed. That's a new rule for this year, but you can fuel while the work is being done. Let's go to Louise.
Yes, well, Nico Lapierre has stayed in the 36 Signatech, and you can hear behind me the 26ers making their way back out to the track as well.
Sebastian Buemi back in the pit lane. Second stop for the number 8 car. So we should be seeing Mike Conway in on the next lap or lap after. And that's about right, 10 laps. Actually 12 laps since the, what, they pitted on lap 9 or 10. Well, it looks like Christensen's caught back up to.
So yeah, I think his pace.
This is the 64 and the 91. This is Oliver Gavin and Jimmy Bruni.
Easy to make the mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's Corvette and Porsche, Corvette and Porsche.
Least they can do is reverse the order in one of them for us.
Haven't seen much of the BMW yet in this race.
They were in the top 5 for a while at the beginning. They've now, through sets of pit stops, dropped to 13th and 15th in the class. Michael Tomczyk has been in the car the entire time. Augusto Farfus is in the other car, the 15 car. This is the 12 car that we're seeing, the 81 car, sorry.
This is the 82. This is Farfus with.
Is it? Okay.
Jaminet. And looking racy with the Risi car just in the background there.
Yeah, Jaminet is the car we saw in the pits that had damage on the front left. He's obviously just tagged something, whether it was a car or a bollard, that front left of his car, so that'll be affecting his handling a little bit.
And it's no help with aerodynamics, that's for sure.
Back in the day, that would have been a race-ending incident for a Porsche. That's what the radiators used to be.
That's right. That's for sure. How many times did we see that happen?
So many times.
If I had $1 for each time, I could be living on Mallorca with Campbell Walter.
We should just go and move in with them anyway.
It's a lifestyle choice. But we're an hour and a quarter almost into the race. Still battling up and down the order. And on less than, of course, the GTE Pro class. I'm looking down in the top 8 of that class, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 battles at the moment as in comes the lead car, Mike Conway.
As we
less than a second.
1 lap after the 8 car, the 7 car makes his appearance. Conway will come to a stop. Looks like a 3rd stint for him. So do you think it'll be 3 stints in the day and 4 stints at night? Or
yeah, well,
3 stints all the way?
I certainly think, no, they will enlarge their driving time at night just to give the drivers who aren't driving some rest. And let's face it, the stints in the P1 cars and P2 are a fair bit shorter than a GT stint. And when all added together, yeah, it's not a big deal to stay in the car for 4 stints.
People, it's a 16:9 image. Turn your phone sideways. Turn your phone sideways.
Out comes number 7 car, still, of course, in the hands of Mike Conway in what's been a great stint from the Englishman so far. Green light at the end of pit lane means he can crack on, and as he leaves pit lane, now into the Ford chicane comes the team car, the 8 car.
There's my stint done. I'll be turning over to Martin Haven. Enjoyed the
just
first
a double
hour
for you
and a quarter
then,
with you guys. Yeah, I'll be back in a little while.
The 2 golf cars together on track with the number 7 car tucked in behind. So the 86 Golf Porsche, the number 10 Dragon Speed BR1 Gibson, still battling away. US Porsche ahead of the WEC Porsche. It is 93 from 92. Nick Tandy from Michael Christensen. That's the battle for second, but just 1.4 seconds ahead. There is Antonio Garcia, took the lead early on in this race with a fantastic move around the outside. Indianapolis to go by at that stage, Nicki Thiim. GTE Pro already with an hour and a quarter gone. Looks set to be a major feature of this race. GTE Am, relatively quiet, led, by the way, by Giancarlo Fisichella, the number 54 Spirit of Race car, now ahead of Matt Campbell. A lot of that's happened with pit stops as well as other shenanigans.
racer and commentator now. He was commentating this morning on the Ferrari Challenge race.
Giancarlo?
Yeah. And
these ex-Formula 1 guys coming over here nicking our jobs. Terrible.
But it's the first time that we have seen a Ferrari at the front. At the start of the race, it was Porsche 123. So that little balance of power is swapping around, and that's the story. That's the story everywhere. That's the number 50 Labra car, and that was started by Texican Nick Bull. He's still at the wheel of that car.
That Peter and Breck looked rather unconventional line through the turn there.
Well, it was he did well to avoid the contact at the end. He thought, all right, I'll have this, and then decided, no, I'm nowhere near having this. And he just got out of it in time to not damage either of their cars.
Yeah.
Talking about Formula 1 drivers nicking our jobs, here's Ant Davidson versus the Racing Team Netherlands car, Nick de Vries.
Nick de Vries takes over the car from Guido van der Garde, who started the car, that car running fourth.
And right behind them, Bruno Senna in the Rebellion, now almost ahead of all the LMP2 cars as he continues with the recovery drive.
That's actually the other car.
Oh, that's number 3 car, yes.
Menezes.
That's the one that doesn't have the black nose now.
Indeed.
Could confuse a simple man, and successfully did.
But Menezes has held that third place since the start, well, since turn 1 rather. Briefly looked like he might grab second at the start, troubling the Toyotas into Dunlop, but all was well if you're a fan of 1,000 horsepower hybrid cars by the time they came under the Dunlop Bridge.
Impressive drive from Menezes. Won LMP2 here a couple of years back. Moved up into the P1 ranks. And yeah, he was the qualifying man in that car, wasn't he?
And he's been super calm, collected, and committed as well. The way he tried to get inside the Toyota for second place right from the first corner was mighty impressive, I thought.
He is now pulling away, by the way, from Vitaly Petrov. 8 seconds, the gap now between the two. He's the only man within a minute of the Toyotas at this stage of the race.
Coming up to 98 Aston Martin. Pedro Lamy is at the wheel of that car. That's 9th in the Am class. It's the last race at this level for the old girl. Next year, the Am class will be able to use the current shape GTE Vantage.
We know we're going to have at least 2 of those in the World Endurance Championship with TF Sports coming back.
11 cars in the Am class, Graham. That's going to only grow, isn't it, you think?
Well, it's, you know, there's many reasons behind it, not least of which you enter the World Championship, you're going to get some spectacular racetracks in world-class fields, and you get the bonus of being guaranteed a race at the Le Mans 24 Hours.
And you still get to race a Ford GT or a Ferrari 488. I mean, this is fabulous. The Ben Keating entered car, your own Blake Amola in that retro livery. Ben Keating, when he got the entry, was looking around for a suitable retro livery to make a debut, and looked through some of the old Le Mans liveries, and then he flicked across a Porsche with that Wins livery and went, oh, hang on a minute, I work with those guys, got on the phone, and within a week the deal was done.
Absolutely.
Is that Menezes? We cursed him a little bit there, didn't we?
Yeah,
he was doing such a good job all weekend, and
then a bit of curb hopping, slightly airborne, but makes the pass.
Definitely wasn't me that cursed him. Absolutely not.
So, 57 seconds he is behind the leader, Mike Conway.
Unexpected pit stop for the number 39 Graf Racing car. Jonathan Hershey bringing that car in for its 3rd pit stop.
Yep, unexpected item in the pit stop area for the Graf Racing car.
Very good. Stealing that right down note.
So, what are we seeing here? We're seeing Ollie Gavin behind Bruni. Is that what we're seeing?
You think we were? Yes.
So, yes. So is that a change to the lead?
Smaller.
Yes.
No, hang on a second.
No,
no, 4th place.
Down, yeah.
5th place.
5th and 4th.
It's Louise Beckett reports that the Graf Racing car looks to be coming in with a puncture. So that's the 3rd of our LMP2 cars that's had a delay. Mira Konopka's just stopped in ARC Bratislava's car. Nico Jamin had a puncture earlier on, of course. And while from the outside, oh, let's hear from Corvette. we've all had that underpowered hire car where switching off the air conditioning actually gives you a noticeable power boost. Well, that's exactly what they're suggesting. And the reason, Peter, they have air conditioning is because the GT cars, all the closed cars here, as they all are now, have a maximum cockpit temperature they've got to stay below, right?
That's right, yeah. FIA brought that in a few years back, and yeah, every car has to remain below a certain temperature. And currently the Corvette is okay, and he's just saying to him, yeah, you know, you look like you could do with a bit more straight line speed just to get back up onto Bruni's tail, and by switching the aircon down, that would help.
And it does help, as we heard earlier on. You know, the track temperature is okay, but it's not high. The air temperature is okay, but it's not high. It's very overcast compared to yesterday, which was a really bright, sunny day. For the first time, Drivers' Parade did not get rained on in several years. So actually that helps with the ambient air temperature. It's not, of course, you've still got that 800 kilowatt furnace burning right in front of you with the pipes running around the side. So that may be only a temporary boost. Right now, the Chip Ganassi Ford USA car on board with Dirk Muller. This is in 6th position, and he's in hunter-killer mode. He's closing on Ollie Gav. Gavin's got one set of brake lights out. That's an automatic pull by the French police there.
No, well, they're going on and off. Like, they're both working
both
now,
on
and then
there,
he leaves
so
the corner, one goes off, and then, you know, I don't know what's going on there.
Maybe he's got a loose connection in there. That might not be good news later on. Are they turning like that?
The Corvette certainly seems to be quite nippy out of the corner, but you're right, the Ford and the Porsche seem to come back at him towards the end of the straight. Not just the slipstream, just, you know, half a mile an hour more in speed, perhaps.
Toyota Gazoo Racing still leading 1-2. The number 7 car chasing for points. Let's have a look, though, at this battle in LMP2. The 22 United Autosports car. Felipe Albuquerque goes by Francois Perrodo for TDS Racing. Of course, TDS, second fastest car in qualifying, but the fastest legal car in qualifying, at least the ones that didn't miss the weighbridge. So they started on the class pole, but the TDS Racing car now down to 11th place in LMP2. Boy, that's a slip in an hour. And closing in behind, the familiar pale blue of Algarve Pro Racing. This is another car that's graduated, another team that's graduated through the ranks and races not only in World Endurance here at Le Mans, but also in European Le Mans Series. And you can see the two of them recently into the car, 4 or 5 laps. Of course, that's getting on for 20 minutes already of hard-fought racing. And the car of Francois Perrodo dropping down behind Felipe Albuquerque. Well, right now, Graf Racing's 39 car has dropped almost to the tail of the lead clump of LMP2. So we've got 18 of our 20 P2 cars together. They go around the 80 Ferrari. That's the 60 car, rather, Claudio Schiavone in the Kessel Racing car. That's the all-male crewed Kessel Racing car. The other car is all-female crewed, and that is further up the order. The 83 car, Ralph Frey driving that. She is in 11th place in the GTE Am class. LMP2, Cinetic Alpine, Nico Lapierre still leading. From G-Drive's Jean-Eric Verne, Dragonspeed's Ann Davidson in 3rd. As we saw, he's got a ding-dong battle going with Nick de Vries for 3rd place. And here, oh, there we go, in the pit lane for the 3rd time, Duqueine Engineering. The team, of course, changed that left front tyre, and Oliver Gavin being handed a penalty. So still, despite being grassed up by Peter Dumbreck, no penalty for Nicki Thiim.
So Ollie's lost another place. Muller's got in front of him now.
Yeah, Dirk.
So he's slipped to 6th place now.
And here comes the Ferrari.
Yeah.
Alessandro Pierre Guidi, and Harry Tincknell was hovering right behind as well, wasn't he, in the Ford, the 67 car?
It does seem like Ollie is struggling with a bit of straight line speed, whereas Antonio Garcia in the lead car is rapid down the straight. And yep, he's about to lose another one.
And yet, Gavin has worked his way up the order, as you pointed out earlier on. He'd got into 5th position from 14th in qualifying, so now the performance is starting to sag a little.
And it does seem to be straight line performance. So here comes the Ford now.
Yeah, Tincknell hooks another gear, and there's inches between them, nose to tail.
And yeah, that move's getting done.
Yep. He hogs the inside line, and Ollie Gavin surrenders in a gentlemanly manner.
Such a frustrating thing as a driver, knowing you can't do a thing about it in a straight line like that. You just aren't as quick as the cars around you. And, you know, he's in the tow now and can't keep up. So clearly, whatever that issue is, maybe it's wing related, maybe he's just carrying a little bit more wing, but yeah, he's dropping so far back. And the Ford straight away is on the Ferrari, past the Ferrari.
Wow. What did Tincknell have for breakfast? This is the second stint for Harry and that car. Now, we didn't see all the pit stops, but are they on the same tyre? Is this how the cars are now lighter on their feet on the tyre? Is the Ford doing a better job than Ferrari and Corvette?
I thought we saw tyre changes right down,
might well have
the
done.
order, but you know, it'd be unusual.
Jimmy Bruni comes right back at Harry Tincknell. Pierre Guidi, rather, comes right back at Harry Tincknell. Doesn't get through there. Yellow flags at Marshall's Post 3. That's the Dunlop Bridge, so that's a long way from these guys. See the Ferrari in front, the Ford in front, rather, kicking up the dust on the exit of Indianapolis, over the curb cam at Arnage.
That double yellow will be for recovery of a floppy that we just heard was on track, close to the racing line. That double yellow now gone. The yellow prototype, by the way, coming through on those cars was for position. That was the recovering ARC Bratislava Ligier of Konstantin Terashenko, making his way back towards the train of LMP2 cars some little way ahead. So the only car out of class position amongst the prototypes is now the delayed Duqueine Engineering car.
So second place car, Toyota, going past the Ollie Gavin battle.
Might be time to send Louise down to have a quick word with Danny Binks at Corvette Racing and find out what they think the issue is. I mean, the two cars are a long way apart in qualifying, weren't they? The number 63 car, that was up in the top 5, and the 64 car was barely in the top 15, and they never really looked like having the pace. 64 car had a few issues in Wednesday and Thursday's running.
So when you compare the last lap of Garcia at 3:51.5 and then Ollie Gavin's at 3:56, obviously Ollie's been held back a little bit by the cars passing him, but yeah, the pace of Ollie has dropped significantly.
The yellow car is JMW Motorsports Ferrari. Jeff Segal, their American driver, chasing down almost American Jörg Bergmeister. He spent so much time racing ALMS and IMSA. He's one of the Porsche's veterans in the Project 1 car. And looking down the inside, Charlie Eastwood in the TF Sport Aston. And that car seems to be getting a little stronger, as does the 98 as the run goes on. But still Giancarlo Fisichella leading the Am class from Porsche, and then the Keating Motorsport Ford in 4th position.
Of course, Jörg Bergmeister is a busy man. He's got Nürburgring 24 hours next week.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? And
Don't we all?
even he's come to join our team, so he's going to be my teammate. He'll be in the Porsche, I'll be in the BMW, so I'll see a lot of him next week.
Yeah. Always a great weekend, the Nürburgring 24 hours, as different from Le Mans as night and day, yet in a weird way, just exactly the same. Bergmeister, Segal, Eastwood, covered by 3/4 of a second, or as you can see, about 6 car lengths. Bruno Senna in and out of the pits in the number 1 Rebellion. And that car making its 3rd stop, and that probably was an unexpected stop, and may well have been a tyre problem, I would have thought. Nothing else gets fixed that quickly, unless they were changing a nose again. Well, Lewis Beckett going to go down and have a word with Rebellion and find out whether that was just a top off a fuel stop. 84 JMW Ferrari, very different livery, but Graham Goodwin kind of in that same red and yellow colour scheme that they've had for many years.
Rebellion, Bruno Senna was out of sync because he did have that problem. He was, remember, he was touring around at 120 kilometres an hour earlier on, so that's
I
why
reckon a pit stop, but just out of sequence now.
Yeah.
So back into a different sequence. JMW, absolutely right. They've featured a range of special liveries here, several times with competitions through then tyre supplier Dunlop, this time with what's known as a bit of an Easter egg livery by Andy Blackmore. And I know you're listing in Canada, Andy.
On board with our LMP2 leader, working his way through the GTE Pro class. See the driver's indication screen. This replicates every flag signal on the track, and it's also used by race control to send messages to the team. So when Ollie Gavin was warned about exceeding track limits, on that screen, instead of saying green, it would have said track limits, turn 7, turn 9, or wherever it was that he was exceeding it. So the driver knows, A, that he's being watched, and B, where he's being watched. So in these days, if you get a penalty for stuff like that, then really you want to have a sit down and a bit of a strong word with yourself, because they're warning you what you're doing wrong. Yep. It's like your mum saying, if you do that again, you'll get a clip, and then whinging when you get a clip.
Absolutely.
Different times. Pit stop for Bike Collars. Tom Dillman, it looks like, has stayed in. They've gone in and out. So that, like the Rebellion stop, will be fuel only. There's the Cinetic Alpine team. Our LMP2 leader, Nico Lapierre, looking very strong at the front of the field. Gap back to Jean-Eric Verne, 10.9 seconds. G-Drive in second place and coming around on the outside. That had all the hallmarks of Lapierre go, I know he's there, I've lost him, where's he gone?
Yeah. And
checks.
You see the Rebellion, just he wasn't happy about being forced onto the extra rubber on the edge of the track, so he was just weaving to see if he can get rid of it again. Blue flags again being waved at Nico Lapierre. That gets repeated in the cockpit, so who's going to come whizzing by? It should be Vitaly Petrov in the SMP. Look, he's looking for it. Where's the SMP car? I want to get by. The Porsche in front of him would also be getting a blue flag warning. And Lapierre's still looking in both mirrors to see where the SMP car is. Fernando Alonso, calm and relaxed and sanguine. I wonder what he's getting aerated about.
Just look at the weather radar on the screen, just over his shoulder. Some rain in the vicinity, but not much, and a little further away than we need to worry about.
He could, of course, be very interested that Mike Conway is currently 2 seconds a lap faster than Buemi in the sister car, and just gradually eking out a bigger gap.
34 seconds up now, the number 7 car from Fernando Alonso's teammates, Sebastian Buemi.
That will be a concern. They're going to wonder why he's that bit quicker than Buemi.
Yeah. The problem is that if the Toyotas finish 1-2, actually it doesn't matter if the number 8 car is 8 laps behind, because they'll still be world champions.
But if you're Fernando Alonso, you want your second victory at Le Mans 24 hours, and yeah, you do whatever it takes to get that victory.
It would be very nice if Toyota won twice and Alonso was in the winning car both times for him, wouldn't it? You would feel like you were cock of the walk there. You know, I came to the team, they won the 2 races I did with them, then I went off and won the Dakar with them, or whatever it is he's doing next. GTE Pro battle. The Aston Martin BMW Nicki Thiim just holding off Martin Tomczyk just. Tomczyk's got a bit of a run. We've seen this a couple of times in the WEC Super Season, that the BMW comes on strong at the end of a long straight.
Yeah, interestingly, remember, not that long ago, Nicki Thiim leading this race, and now he's back in 12th place.
Yeah. It's such a seesaw battle. Louise Beckett down at Corvette Racing. What do you know about the 64 car?
Well, I just spoke to Jan Magnussen because I can't find anyone else in the team to talk to, and he said that he doesn't think there's any explanation in terms of them running any differently. It's just where they qualified and the battles that they've come up against.
All right, fantastic.
That's what he said. I also spoke to Aston Martin, and Nicki Thiim is double stint in those tyres, but I don't know if that's enough to explain his drop back.
Thank you very much, Louise Beckett down in the pit lane.
I think that does explain why he's dropped back.
Quite well do.
So,
well, the team is saying there is a little more than just old tyres. However, it was wet and then dry in practice. The 64 got delayed, so they didn't get all the information they wanted from both their cars. So maybe Corvette, although they're in a different position to last year when they had not raced that car on the Michelin tyre they use here. This year in WeatherTech Series they are, so they do know the tyre, but there are different formulations of tyre here, and it's a very different track. So I wonder whether they are just finding out now that this is too warm for double stinting that particular compound. Of course, there are different compounds available, and in the dead of night, maybe that'll be a double or a triple stinting tyre with no problems. But at the moment, on a hotter track, perhaps not. Nick Tandy in the 93 Porsche, second place, being warned about abusing track limits.
As the Duqueine Engineering car there makes its way by the GTE cars, chucks up a bit of debris.
yeah, bit of carbon fibre there. You can see that all over the track up there. So someone's lost some of that. It's a little bit dangerous for tyres, that is, especially when you're coming to such a hard braking point and you're doing, well, in a GT car,
188, 189, yeah. Car 88 slow at the exit of the first chicane. That's on your right-hand side.
There it is, it's damage. That's where that's come from.
Can anybody guess? Yeah, I'd say so. He's hit something.
Light unit is out from the front of that car as well.
Mr. Hoshino again, is it?
Yeah, I think so. He's still in the car. And I tell you what, you know, you're running over a little bit of debris, a bit of carbon flies up in the air. You hit a light unit, you're going to know all about that, aren't you? And of course, at night, that can easily be sitting in the road. You won't see it. It won't be illuminated. It's non-reflective. You'll hit that doing 180 miles an hour. Your car will not thank you for
There's
it.
a possibility, you know, that was actually dislodged in that spin. We've seen that before. So two occasions, once in testing, once in racing, with one of the new 911 RSRs having a high-speed spin and blowing the rear window out.
He is driving back very slowly, though, as if
It's something else as well.
Yeah. Or he's been told not to break anything else before he hands it in at reception. Third place car in LMP2, the 31 car at the top of the picture, just coming through the GT battles. Here we are on board again with Oliver Gavin in the 64 Corvette. Gavin now trying to find a little bit more pace to get back past. Oh, that is Davide. Is that Alessandro Pierre Guidi?
yes,
No.
Pierre Guidi in front of him.
Yes, it is. So the red and white of the Ford is very misleading because it makes you think, oh, both Ferraris have gone by, but there he's got one in the front and one in the back. So it's Davide Rigon closing in and Alessandro Pierre Guidi, who Oliver Gavin is hunting right now. And again, he's somehow dealt with whatever issue it was that slowed him down, because he's now starting to pick up pace again. Because he's now trying to take the place back from the Ferrari. Ben Hanley back in the pits, and that is stop number 3 for the number 10 Dragon Speed car. We heard that it was dragging its belly on the ground, which is never a good thing. So I wonder if they've decided that they can bring him in, fill him with fuel, change the driver, and can they do something quickly enough about the ride height? They're going to have to make a minimal adjustment if they do.
Well, better to do it now than risk making the car illegal or having to change the plank later.
Yeah, the
Exactly
17th SMP racing car in too. You can see there the damage.
Has that tyre let go there and flailed around inside the arch and flicked all that stuff off?
Did we? But no, fifth place, 17 car, Stefan Sarrazin on pit road together with the Dragon Speed. Number 10, Ben Hanley dropping back into the LMP2 order now as Bruno Senna comes in the opposite direction.
P2 cars pitching as well. Nick de Vries Racing Team Netherlands. and Cetilar Villorba-Corsa have also pitted. Here's 17. Fresh tyres going on. That little sprinkle of rain that was reported in the first half hour at Mulsanne was basically somebody brushing their teeth, I think. It just hasn't had any effect whatsoever on the race, thankfully. We've had enough rain so far this week.
First knockings of the next pit stop round for LMP2 begin to get underway, with the cars that stopped earliest last time beginning to show their faces down pit lane again.
Yeah. Well, having had the 10 and the 17 car in, we should now see number 11 for SMP and the number 3 car for Rebellion and the number 8 car for Toyota coming on this next lap.
Number 88 makes it back after that drama leading down to...
Doesn't look like a flat tyre.
Didn't look like a flat.
No. Preparing for a full course yellow. That'll be for Debris on the run down to the first chicane. Oliver Gavin's bright yellow 64 Corvette chasing the Ferrari of Alessandro Pierre Guidi past the Am class MR Racing Ferrari.
Count of 10 coming, I feel.
Yep. So it'll be our second full course yellow of the race.
So the cars that got it wrong last time, that didn't start quick enough, like Ollie, they've got to really be on it this time.
And the other thing is slowing down to 80 Ks quickly enough as well, because that'll earn you a penalty just as quickly.
What damage has that done?
Yeah, look, is that tyre shredded on the inside wall? I think it is. And I think, remember when the Duqueine car came in and from the outside went, well, that's not a puncture. When the mechanic carried it into the garage, the entire inner shoulder had gone.
Trouble as well for the number 70 car, the MR Racing car. That certainly has got a rear right puncture.
Now that will start to shed debris everywhere as well.
It could well have run over the debris, of course. That was in the same vicinity.
Yep.
Run over and added to Eddie Cheever the third.
Yep, and Eddie's been off track using all of the track and the outscoot because he's had warnings as well. So yeah, those tyres will take a...
So every time you run up a curb and come back down onto the road, that's okay. But if you drop a wheel over the outside, you've got a not very smooth concrete edge, jagged up against the inside of the sidewall as you try and drag the car back on. And that's what causes an awful lot of the punctures here.
It may not even be a puncture. It might just be just one aspect of the tyre flailing away at the inside bodywork. The tyre looked inflated. That was taken off that Porsche. It may just be damaged to the tyre.
Yeah.
That one's definitely
done.
There's no doubt about that one.
But you can see how stiff the car is, because from the front of the split is absolutely level, and yet he's dragging along on the rear diffuser and a tyre.
Yeah, there's a good chance that was that debris. We talked about it as it happened. A lot of carbon fibre, and that's very sharp and just cuts into the tyre.
Couple of P2 cars in the pits. Algarve Pro, they've swapped over to Andrea Pizzitola, and high class with Matthias Besch. Now they came in before full course yellow, so they get a get out of jail free card on a joker pit stop, if you like, because while they were in the pit stationary, nobody else was doing more than 80 Ks. That's a huge win for them in terms of the lack of time they'll lose because of their pit stop.
If we are correct and that car has run over that debris, it's only happened just at the back of that straight, you know, the beginning of the Mulsanne straight. So really that car should, if that full course yellow had been called just slightly earlier, he might have avoided that puncture. But it starts bits of his bodywork are coming off now with the flailing tyre.
The other advantage of the full course yellow for him is it forces him to go no quicker than 80 kilometers an hour. Now everybody else goes green. I was about to say it's a chance for the marshals to run out and clear up some of the debris as he leaves it, but they haven't had that opportunity. Okay, so pit entry is now open. Lots of false indications on our timing screens that cars have stopped. They have not stopped out on track. There's about a dozen cars, half a dozen cars now being shown as stopped. This is the TDS number 48 car. And TDS Racing, the pole sitters in the LMP2 category, a 28 car, now down with Francois Perrodo in 17th position. Racing Team Netherlands have put Nick de Vries in the car. Saw Alan McNish and Louise Beckett on the grid, chatting to a Racing Team Netherlands driver eye to eye. That could only have been one of the trio. Pint-sized Nick de Vries. So Algarve Pro and High Class have gained time on their rivals. Now we're going to see whole field GTE Pro pit stops as well. The second place car in each team will come in. So Jimmy Bruni and Dirk Muller come down pit road. So too does Ollie Gavin and Davide Rigon. Their teammates stay out. Corvette lead in GTE Pro with Antonio Garcia. Then Nick Tandy and Michael Christensen for the US and the WEC Porsche teams. Harry Tincknell right in 5th position, and Louise Beckett with an unusual pit stop at Porsche.
Yeah, Porsche 91 are replacing the right-hand door.
Now, although it's daylight, they may have... I'll turn you off and turn me back on. They may have spotted already that the right-hand number panel, which is back illuminated, may not have been illuminated properly. Did the Ford lose a position on the run out of pit road there? That was the 68 Ford. I think they did to the 91 Porsche. Wow.
Then they're currently running side by side.
Yeah. And everybody else...
in front.
The Ford is in front. And that 91 Porsche was the one that had the different door. As Jim Roller pointed out a little earlier, new changes for the Le Mans pit lane. Instead of having 2 tyre changes and 1 wheel gun, you can have 4 tyre changes and 2 wheel guns. And of course, everybody is. But the really big difference is you can fuel and do tyres at the same time, which you were not allowed to do before now. So the time spent stationary in the pits, particularly in as tough a battle as the GTE Pro class now, is going to be even less. So there's even more pressure on the teams to get everything done in lightning fast pit stop time. Ford versus Ferrari, 67 car, just keeping its nose in front. Louise Beckett down in the pit lane as well. Dempsey-Proton with the last running car in the field. What do you know?
They've made the change, they've fixed the car, and he's going back out. Driver has stayed in, I believe.
Okay, so it might still be more work to do. Satoshi Hoshino is the 61st car on our timing screen of 61. In 60th place is the 98 Aston Martin that Pedro Lamy is currently driving, the car he shares with Matthias Lauda and Paul Dall'Alana, one of the full season WC entries, and they are now in the pits making their second stop. So that car, unfortunately, was sort of halfway up the field, is now right at the tail of the field. So I'm not sure quite what has befallen 98 Aston, because they were in, well, definitely in the top 10, now down the order. Leading in GTE Pro, Corvette and Porsche second and third. Harry Tincknell, the 67 Ford we saw, in 4th place. You're looking at 68, the red, white and blue, being caught by an LMP2 battle for position as well. Andrea Pizzitola with your compatriot Paul Di Resta for United Autosports. United bringing 2 dogs to this fight, and it's such an efficiently run team, isn't it? They've got a good driver lineup as well in both cars.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest teams here in Le Mans. I think got 90 personnel for 6 cars, because of course they were racing this morning in the Road to Le Mans Championship as well.
Well, here's the new driver input. So you're assuming that Paul Di Resta, having been in for 2 minutes, it says on the driver time, compared to the Algarve Pro driver who was in that car at the start, Andrea Pizzitola, he's been in for 108 minutes already. So you're assuming that Paul Di Resta, not only is the driver fresher, but the tyres are probably fresher as well. Yeah, Algarve yet to make their
change.
stop.
Garcia's getting out of the Corvette, the leading Corvette. So we'll see one of his compatriots getting in.
Nick Tandy's in the pits as well from 2nd for Porsche. Michael Christensen in the pits from 3rd for Porsche. Harry Tincknell in the pits from 4th. Alessandro Pierre Guidi from 5th. Richard Westbrook from 6th. Nicki Thiim from 7th. So the top 7 in GTE Pro all stopping. Driver change here at Ford. So Harry Tincknell is out. That's Jonathan Bomarito getting in, I think.
So most of these cars, most of these GT Pro cars have done double stints with their drivers, apart from a couple of the Porsche drivers got out after the first stint.
Let's get down to Louise Beckett. Louise, busy pit lane.
It sure is a busy pit lane. I'm just waiting to speak to Antonio Garcia, who's got out of the 63. The 63's back out on track now. I'll give you a shout when I can get hold of him.
Roger that. Number 8, Toyota is in from second place. The World Championship points leaders, last year's Le Mans winners. Sebastian Buemi at the wheel, stays in. Mike Conway stays out on track in the number 7 car. Their closest and realistically only rivals for the World Championship title are their own teammates. Gustavo Menezes has stopped from 3rd. He's been and gone. The 17 Rebellion has been and gone. The number 11 has yet to stop from 4th place overall. So we've got Toyota 1-2 and then Rebellion and SMP giving chase. And at the moment, all on the lead lap, with the exception of the delayed Rebellion of Bruno Senna and the delayed by Colles of Tom Dillman. So we've got 5 of our LMP1 cars on the same lap as the race leader. All of our LMP2 front runners have pitted again. And Toyota's copybook blotted only by problems with the car at Silverstone. They still finished 1-2, but the results won't show that.
And now it's the round of pit stops for the lead group in GTE Am underway. So it's not going to quit for a little wee while yet for Louise Beckett down on pit road.
Yeah, Matt Campbell in the 77 Dempsey-Proton car leads that field. Again, back to... It seems easy to pick up battles that involve the Corvettes because they're easy to spot. The Corvette, though, lost the lead during that round of pit stops. Antonio Garcia brought the car in the lead, and Kevin Magnussen's dad has the car in second place. Mathieu Jaminet, the Porsche junior driver ahead of him. Yeah, he has not stopped. So
I would imagine he'll be coming in this lap and Magnussen will go back into the lead, but he is under pressure from Patrick Pilet.
Yeah, Pilet's taken over that Brumos liveried car, or Brumos tribute liveried car, one of the 2 IMSA racing team Porsches that he took over from Nick Tandy. Patrick Pilet, Michael Christensen still in 4th. Last year's winners in the 92 car are back with a different livery, not the pink pig this weekend, but with a red, white and black normal Porsche factory livery with a red stripe replaced with a big gold band, because they are the World Makes champions. You just saw Oliver Gavin stalking away in the 64 Corvette garage. So he's handed over to Tommy Milner, and ever courageous Louise Beckett is going to go and try and get an interview with not Ollie Gavin.
Unusual penalty just being shown to us on the screens here. It's going to go to the way of the Dragon Speed car, the number 10 car that's currently on in the pits with a problem. But it's a 10-second stop and go penalty for the number 10, which they'll take after they've rejoined the race from this pit stop for exceeding the amount of allowed fuel in a stint. Highly unusual.
Antonio Garcia has bought in the 63. Well, we're used to seeing Aston Martins and Corvettes racing here at Le Mans, close, really close, and you were the victor on that battle.
Yeah, it was pretty decent. I mean, it was always a question mark on what would be the pace. Initially, Nicki and everybody seems to be quite fast, but I mean, the car felt really good. I mean, our Corvette seems to be working really good this year, so I found no point of staying behind, so I just went ahead and lead the pack and see what happens. I mean, I saw at the end that Tandy was right on me, but I mean, I felt we have quite a decent pace and decent car so far, so I think I prefer to be up there in the lead and control the race.
We're only, what, not even 2 hours in? Can you keep up that level of battling and racing for 24 hours between all of you in GT?
I think you have to. It's like no choice. GT Pro is so intense that I think as soon as you start breathing or start to save a little bit your car, somebody will just carry on and get to the end going at 100%. So you cannot afford to reserve anything. You just need to go, 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 because GTE Pro, we saw him, it's going to be a full-on battle all the way to the 24 hours. So I hope we can bring this Corvette all the way up.
Okay, thank you.
Peter Dumbreck, great quote from Antonio Garcia there with Louise Beckett. In this battle, you don't win if you blink. I mean, he said, you know, can you keep this up? I think you have to. If you breathe for a moment, you're going to lose. And that's absolutely the way it looks.
You know, we've seen over the course of the last few years, you know, hour on hour on hour, these battles continue, and gradually, one by one, someone has a problem and one drops out, and then you continue with 6 or 5 or 4. And we saw last year with Porsche, they were lucky a couple of times, and they ended up the victors.
Yeah, absolutely right. You get lucky with a safety car, and that's the kind of advantage nobody gives you. Now, Louise is on the way down to Aston Martin Racing because the 98 car, remember I mentioned that it had dropped way down towards the tail of the field. It's now actually the last car. They are in the pit lane and the car is back in the garage. Ben Hanley in to serve his penalty. And Graham Goodwin, it is an unusual penalty for using too much fuel in a stint, but that's part of EOT, equalization of technology, which balances hybrid apples and non-hybrid oranges in the LMP1 class.
Well, I just wonder if that's part of the reason why the car is down in the garage. Have they got a problem with that system? You know, it may well be that it's actually been done not consciously, if you see my point. We saw the car smoking earlier. Explanation for that not absolutely clear yet, but I wonder if with the car in the garage now, whether or not that's part and parcel of the same issue.
Now, there could be two things going on there. If it was running low, that would increase the consumption if it's dragging its belly on the ground. The other possible explanation is that those fumes were not coming from a plank, but because the engine was over-fueling itself and running super rich. And that would have used more fuel than they're expecting. Louise Beckett down at Aston Martin.
Yes, I'm with Paul Howard from Aston Martin. We can see the 98 in the garage. The team are all working on it. What's the problem?
There seems to be a power steering problem. So Pedro complained about it on 2 laps, so it's much more appropriate to just stop the car and fix the car. So we haven't found anything obvious with the car, but it's about a 20-minute repair. We change the parts and then hopefully get them back on track and continue.
Okay, thanks very much. I can see Matthias Lauda is in the car and I can see him turning the steering wheel and feeding back to the team. So hopefully they'll get that sorted quickly.
Next in pit road is the Graf Racing car, 39, our original pole sitter, remember, before losing those times to a missed weighbridge call from Vincent Capillaire. That car pitting from 12th in LMP2. Toyota Gazoo Racing still 1-2, 41 seconds the gap between Mike Conway and Sebastian Buemi. Settler Racing card comes through with the 91 Porsche. 91 Porsche in the hands of Richard Lietz now sits 6th in class. This is the car challenging for the World Championship, Drivers' Championship. It's the 92 car, though, that sits 3rd. Michael Christensen, one of 2 men, stands at this stage to get that World Championship title. And sitting pretty for at the moment. We'll have to have a very bad day indeed for the 91 car crew to have a hope of that World Championship.
Peter Dumbreck, great onboard views that we get these days with the super new technology that's available, and the crews are saying that the radio transmissions as well are really clear now all the way around the circuit, and that's a big step forward. We talked about it the other day in qualifying when you were racing in the factory Mercedes. You actually had a mobile phone inside the cockpit, so that if you broke down here and there was no radio signal, which was often the case, you might luck in and get a mobile phone signal. Of course, now there's so many mobile phones, you probably wouldn't get that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, you can have a look over at the pits there and see these antennas miles up in the sky off the back of the trucks and buildings. And yeah, you've pretty much got a signal all the way around the circuit now. And you know, this is a big circuit, but you've even places like Nürburgring next weekend, the 24-hour there, and we've got radio contact all the way around the Nürburgring as well, and you really do pop off into the forest and as if you're never going to return there. So it's yeah, the technology's really moved on a long way.
That in itself is some engineering feat on the Nordschleife to get full radio coverage. Dragon Speed car, by the way, has left pit lane, but will be back with us to take that penalty, Martin.